Hello everyone and welcome back to Factorio. It's darkness again, I apologize, I will fix that momentarily. There you go, it's a bit better. Doesn't matter, it doesn't need to be efficient, I'm just trying to make a display here. Okay, so I promised actually a few episodes ago that I was going to do some calculatey mathy stuff. If I remember, I'll put a link in the video description of a spreadsheet that I'm using. I'm not going to be doing too much mathy stuff, but some of it definitely. So okay, this is just gonna annoy me. That blinking light, the fact that there's different numbers of lights I'm okay with for now. Okay, so the spreadsheet that I'm using basically tells me how many of each type of item I will be needing for the 1000 signs per minute goal that I have set myself, basically. So for example, it turns out I need something like 120,000 iron plates per minute. And iron plates are made in these electric furnaces, or will be made in these. I could technically be using different furnaces as well, but they can take modules and they require fuel. So I am going to be using electric furnaces. I think that's really the only reasonable thing to do. And now this is the kind of setup I'll be using. Of course it'll be much bigger, but this is the sort of idea I'm going for. I put it down so we can see the numbers properly. The way this works is that each beacon, or each furnace rather, is in range of 8 beacons, 4 from above, 4 from below. And this way I can just stack the furnaces very tightly. I quite like this design. It's fairly compressed. Could do it differently, but this is, I don't know, I like the looks of it, and eventually I'll be using robots to supply this, so it'll just work out nicely. You'll see what I mean when we're there. But this is, again, just a display so you can see the numbers. That's the main purpose of this. And if you look at on the right side where we get the info sheet for the electric furnace, health doesn't matter, energy consumption doesn't matter, drain doesn't matter, electricity, none of that matters. Then the first one that matters is productivity plus 20%. That means that basically for each product I produce, I get a 20% bonus towards a free product. And basically this just means, for the sake of calculations, that this machine produces 20% more iron plates than without the productivity. So usually you get 1 iron ore in and you got 1 iron plate out, but because of the productivity I get 1 iron ore in and 1.2 iron plates out. That's a 20% bonus. That's just how it works. And that's really the the main point of setting this up so that we can see these numbers nicely. So that's what the productivity means, and that means that to create 120,000 iron plates per minute, I really only need to smelt about 100,000 iron ore per minute, because I get that 20% bonus. So 100,000 iron ore turn into 120,000 iron plates. I'm walking through this slowly, just this once, so you basically know the kind of calculations that are going on. Okay, the pollution also doesn't matter. Number of effect sources is sort of not really important either. The other thing that matters is the crafting speed of 9.4. And this is due to the beacons. Each of these give a bonus to energy consumption and speed. Basically, each beacon projects half the effect of the inserted modules, which basically means, because there are 2 speed module 3 in each of the beacons, they each project 1 speed module 3 to any machine in range. And that just means that each of these furnaces, because it's affected by 8 beacons, effectively has 8 speed modules in it. You cannot put productivity modules in beacons, so speed is really the only thing that makes sense. You could also put in something that makes you save energy, but quite frankly, as you can see, I'm fine for energy, and if I need more, then I am producing... go away. I said go away. I'm producing more than enough nuclear fuel. I showed you that last time, so I can always see all of these fuel cells. So yeah, I can always just build more nuclear reactors if I have to. There's tileable designs now. I would probably just steal one of those instead of making my own, which it works, but it's not perfect. It's not wasteful, or I'm not. Yeah, I've talked about that. I don't want to talk about it again. Anyway, I could. I can easily make more power, and I can also just plop down more solar panels if I need to. I can just expand the array over here, or the one down here, or I could slot more on top here. It doesn't matter. I have options for energy. Energy is no concern. But the crafting speed of 9.4, that is important. And here's where it gets a bit technical. So by default, the iron plate recipe takes 1 iron ore, makes 1 iron plate, and takes 3.5 seconds. That's just what the recipe does. Now the crafting speed of 9.4 means I have to divide the actual time by 9.4. So the 3.5 seconds that it takes by default have to be divided by the crafting speed, which results in, let me just, I've got my calculator here. It's essential for this sort of thing. Which means that these machines, because they're so much faster from all the beacons, actually take 0.37 and more decimals after that, but 0.37 seconds per iron plate. And because of the productivity bonus, I'm technically making 1.2 iron plates in that time frame. And so that's how long it takes to craft one item. If we want to know how many items we craft per second, we just take the inverse of that number. So we take 1 divided by that 0.37 long number. And yeah, if I do that, I reach a number of 2.686 roughly. Again, you can be as precise or not as you like with this. I'm just running you through this now. I will try to overlay the numbers on the screen as well to give you some visual aids. So that's per second, but all of our calculations are based on per minute. We want 1,000 science per minute. So we times the result by 60, because this many items per second means 60 times as many per minute. And that leads us to 161 point decimals crafts per minute. Now this is not yet including the 20% productivity. I will add that in the end. Which means one furnace can basically consume 161 point something iron ore per minute and smelt those away. Now as it turns out, I need, round it up to make sure, 100,186 plates or crafts per minute. So what I do is I take the number I need, 100,186, and divide it by my answer, the 161 point something crafts per minute. And that leads me to 621, which I will have to round up to 622, because I want to make sure I'm producing more than I need, not less than I need. And basically this tells me that I need 622 electric furnaces to be able to smelt all the iron ore I need into iron plates. And now the 100,000 number, the 100,186, that's where the productivity has been calculated in. So yeah, that's it's very important to keep track of that. And it's also very important to always make sure that you track your productivity when you're doing these theoretical calculations. And it also shows that it's incredibly important to always use productivity. Because it might seem like a small bonus, and it might seem like if I put in speed, I will actually get more from each furnace. But productivity is applied at every single step that can take productivity. Most steps can. Some recipes can take productivity, but a lot of them. So, for example, I'll take the iron. Using productivity, I get a 20% bonus. If I then turn the iron into electric circuits, which take copper and iron, well, copper cable and iron, then I get that 20% again. Actually, I get 30% because, no, 40%, because I use these crafting machines 3, which can take 4 modules. And then when I use the electric circuits that I get, these, and I use them, for example, to make advanced circuits, then again I get the productivity bonus of 40%. And then I make these and use them to make processing units, and again the productivity kicks in. And I might use these to make the high-tech science, which again takes productivity. And every step I get that 40% bonus, which if you calculate it down towards the end, just adds up hugely and means that I would, without productivity, I would need maybe 2 or 3 times as much iron ore per second or per minute than using these productivity modules. It means that my setups will be slightly larger because the productivity modules slow down the machine. If you just look, if I put in the speed modules instead, this has a crafting speed of 12 compared to 9.4, so it is quite a bit faster. But yeah, in the long run, it just means I don't have to ship in as much iron ore, and that's already a bit of a logistical issue, how to get enough iron ore to the smelting area. Now this is the kind of setup I'll be using, and those are the kinds of calculations that I will be doing. If you look at the spreadsheet that I've linked, it's quite confusing, but you should find most of the numbers in my calculation in the spreadsheet as well. And for the most part I will just be referring to the spreadsheet. I will probably double check some of the calculations, but I have not found any mistakes so far. I believe that spreadsheet is at least largely accurate. I pulled that off Reddit somewhere. Anyway, that's just the idea of what I will be going for. Now, as you've seen last time, I already have quite a big train base and all that stuff set up. Luckily no enemies. But this old train base is sort of flawed in its initial design in many ways. But it's very good for supplying me with modules that I need, and I have my starter base, which is still largely operational, even though eventually it'll obviously run out of resources, but you know, we're good for now. And this is the whole point of this, is just to supply me with all the necessary components that I need to make my give this more speed, but doesn't matter. Yeah, this just supplies me with all the components I need to make my huge proper base, which I will make quite separately from the other one. They will not be linked. They will be on a separate train network. And I'll probably start somewhere up here. But yeah, I obviously need to start with a smelting area. That's kind of the first thing I'll need to do. And then I will need to also consider how many for example, how many mining drills do I need to supply that much iron ore per minute? I mean, it's 100,000 iron ore. That's a lot. That's, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 trains running full time. I'll also be using a slightly different train system. As you can see here, these are all loop based. So my trains, can I find a train that's standing in a station somewhere? Definitely. Preferably where I have radar coverage there. You see, all my trains have 1 locomotive and then 4 wagons. I will probably be going for a system where they will have 1 locomotive, 4 wagons, and then another locomotive heading the other way, which allows me to go forwards and backwards. These trains right now can only go forwards. Not sure, locomotives might be able to go backwards, but definitely not at any speed. Point is, I will be changing all this around, and I don't want to modify the entire existing system. I want to build a new one from scratch, so you see all the intermediate steps. And the first one, as I said, is setting up that furnace array. So I will need a ton of all that stuff. And luckily, we have construction robots. Okay. So I will not be needing... wow, I have way too many of those. I will not be needing any of the belts, because I will not be using any of the belts. However, what I will need are provider chests and requester chests, which are steel chests, greens and reds. Okay. That's not too bad. So I will be needing some to produce those, basically. I'm still doing proper main busing here, because, well, I can, I guess. Okay, let's go like so. And like so. And then I will also be needing the steel, which I can grab here. Right, steel chests only take steel. Okay, cool. And that should be that. I've kind of been a bit lazy about expanding the rest of the main bus down all the way. As you can see, it's all a bit of a hassle. I think it used to be... Did it ever used to be wider? I don't even know. Doesn't matter. Yeah, it's all just a mess here, but it's fine. It's the good kind of mess. And I'm not sure. I might want storage chests as well. So what I'll do is I'll have one machine here grabbing the steel. Wait, that was actually correct. Never mind. Like so. And we'll be putting that on a belt. Right here. Right here. And I guess, because I can never remember, I'm just gonna make a random balancer here. Okay, and so you will need input as well. How about giving you stack inserters, just to be on the safe side? Damn it. My inventory management is pretty bad. Okay, you make steel chests, you need power, of course. Okay. And then I will need one machine. Well, I'll just make all the 4 types of chests. I probably won't be using active providers, but you know, just in case, I will be making those as well. But I'll start with passive providers and requesters. Those are the most important. And then storage, and then the active providers. Again, I don't really plan to be using those, but well, you never know. Okay, and then we'll do this and this. And each machine will take like so. I have not optimized this in any way or thought about how to make this ideal, because this is just a slow, steady flow of items that needs to be created here. So it doesn't need to be fast or efficient or calculated, just because this is not the sort of setup that ever requires that. Okay, now you all have power, and now you all have power. Okay, and now these here will just start making the chests. I can probably limit these to, I don't know, that much. It's probably already massive overkill, but, you know, it's fine. And this way, the steel chests, which I'm not producing at enough pace to supply all of these permanently, they will first be used to make the passive providers, and then, actually I can't, yeah, I can only give these speed modules. I'm pretty sure, okay, I can give the speed modules, but I can't actually supply it fast enough, which is fine, I don't really need to. And I also think this will drain my green circuits quite substantially over time. Doesn't matter. Once these are all full, we will have a decent supply. Okay, so at least we've built a little something today that wasn't just for show. Yeah, I was also possibly gonna launch, never mind. My atomic bomb is still very, very slowly ticking along. Oh yeah, that's this machine here. It's just pathetically slow. Crafting speed of 0.5. But yeah, doesn't matter. Okay, so I will start setting up an iron smelting area, and I'll see how big it'll actually need to be. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode, even though it was mostly theoretical blabbing, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.